Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies. The Phillies have an Aaron Nola problem, and there's no immediate solution for the team. We'll talk about what they could do.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You may know me from some of my other work in the sports talk space. I've been on air over at 97.5 The Fanatic, doing sports talk radio for over 5 years now. I've been a credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member for 4 seasons, and this is now my 4th year as the host of Locked On Phillies. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, hitting that subscribe button on the YouTube. We're available wherever you get your podcasts, and you can also watch the show on our YouTube channel, Locked On Phillies. So I appreciate everyone who's rated and reviewed, subscribed, just watched or listened in general. Thank you guys for always joining us here on Locked On Phillies. No thanks to Aaron Nola right now. We're going to start off with a conversation about him. And another really, really rough start. His numbers are bad this year. That's the shot. We'll have a chaser in part 2 about the good from the doubleheader, because there was good for the Philadelphia Phillies. It was overruled by the very, very, very bad on the mound in game 2. And then because the Phillies have an off day today, we'll take a peek in at the standings before we do Friday's episode, which will be the preview of the Pirate series that goes on over the weekend. But we got to get into this Aaron Nola thing. I don't know what to tell you guys. Let me lay this out for you so you know exactly where I'm coming from. I was livid last night watching Aaron Nola pitch, or tried to pitch. He's been rough all year. He's had 1 or 2 passable starts, but he's just been getting shelled most of the time. His ERA's terrible. His record's terrible. You can't go with the run support. No, the Phillies gave him run support last night, and the Phillies had every right to win that baseball game, and one man took it away from him, and that was Aaron Nola. And I'm not saying took it away like he did it intentionally, but he was the reason they lost that game last night. It's very rare that you can point to one guy and be like, it's his fault. But last night was Aaron Nola's fault. He had a lead, and he immediately gave it up. Just no semblance of an ability to pitch with a lead last night from Aaron Nola. And it was ridiculous. You have a chance to win a series. You played a tight game in the first one. The offense wakes up. They're feeling good. And then the next thing you know, you're trailing in a game that you scored 5 runs in early. I mean, it was ridiculous. The Phillies scored 7 runs last night. They got doubled up. They lost 14-7. So it's not all Aaron Nola. He only gave up 7. The bullpen was not much better. Tanner Banks wasn't better. Taiwan Walker wasn't at his best. But my goodness, Aaron Nola is an issue right now. You're not going to, and you shouldn't, feel good when he steps to the mound until we see a sustained success period for Aaron Nola. And this is all compounded by the new contract that he just got a little bit over a year ago. The length of that deal. And knowing that, okay, well, you've got a situation where you got this guy locked down for a long time. He's 32. He's got a lot of innings that he's thrown in his career. I don't know how he gets better. He said, he's not hurt. He feels fine. So it's not an injury thing, which you kind of wish it was. Not that I want Aaron Nola to be hurt, but it would explain what's going on. And then you rehab it. You fix stuff, he feels better, he throws better. That's the idea, right? When guys are this bad and they're feeling healthy and everything, I don't know what you can do. And I put out a couple of tweets last night just absolutely ripping Aaron Nola to shreds, and deservedly so with the way he's pitched this year, right? I'm not trying to take personal attacks or anything, but based on performance, he has been really bad for the Phillies, and they cannot afford to have him be really bad. Well, I guess they kind of can, because the rest of the rotation is really, really good. But it is disheartening seeing Aaron Nola go out there and give you that performance, because now you question, do you need another arm? Or does he need time, I don't know, to do what? Rehab stint, fake injury, skip a start, throw Taiwan Walker? I don't know what you do. And that gets us to this point. The Phillies have no good Aaron Nola solution right now. There's just nothing for them to do. I don't know what you can do, because I don't know that they're going to skip a start. I guess you always could, right? Based on the amount of off days you have, you could kind of finagle it to where you just say, okay, we're skipping your start or we're letting Taiwan Walker start. But the problem with that, if you let somebody else start, it's not currently in the rotation. If you did that, it would be Taiwan Walker. Walker's been solid this year. So let's say he goes out there and he throws well and he gives you, like, I don't know, 5 shutout innings. Just random number throwing out there, but a good pitching performance from Taiwan Walker. Then what do you do next time that spot is up? Do you say, hey, Walker, threw well start of the season, threw well that spot start in replacement of Aaron Nola? You're going back to the bullpen. We're going to give a guy who's 1-7 on the year a chance to go out there and start again. Like, I don't know how you do that. So you put yourself in a really tough situation if you allow Taiwan Walker to pitch in place of Aaron Nola, because if he throws well, then you're throwing him, and you might be like, okay, well, that's better for the team. Well, then you have a guy on a long-term deal who doesn't have a spot in the rotation, who's never thrown out of the bullpen, who is not a reliever, who is probably going to be mentally destroyed from that. He already seems mentally destroyed. There was a point last night, and that's why I'm not trying to personally bury the guy, but there was a point last night where Aaron Nola almost looked like he was crying. Like, he was emotionally distressed last night by his performance, and he should have been. He is not helping the team right now. You feel bad to see that happen to the guy, especially a guy that's been here for so long and given this team so much. But the reality is he should be upset with his performance because it has not been remotely up to par. But spot starting Taiwan Walker could open a can of worms. I don't know that the Phillies want to do that. Sending Aaron Nola down for a rehab stint, well, I guess you could do that if you come up with an injury. But he said last night he feels fine. So that doesn't seem to be an option. And then when you look at the broader scale of everything, like the contract, a lot of people were thinking and tweeting and talking about the contract last night during the game. How long do we have this guy for? What's that going to look like in 3, 4, 5 years? Well, the contract is part of the reason the Phillies have no good Aaron Nola solution right now. They're not going to be able to trade him, and they're not going to release him. You release him, you're going to eat all that money. That's not happening. It's not happening. It's not happening. How many times do I have to tell you it's not happening? They're not going to just cut Aaron Nola. So get that out of your mind right now. It's not happening. As far as trading him, nobody's taking that contract. You know how hard it was to trade the Taiwan Walker contract? The Phillies couldn't get that done remotely. And he had less years and less money on that deal. Aaron Nola has more years and more money and is pitching awfully right now. No team is going to reach out to the Phillies and be like, hey, can we acquire Aaron Nola on that contract at that dollar amount? They're not going to be able to trade him. Now, when we get to year 5, 6, whatever of the deal, then maybe you'll be able to make a move, right? But that's a ways away. This year, Nola is not being traded. He's not being cut. He's not being sent down. Like, he may do the rehab start if they do come up with a way to get him. Oh, he's got a blister on his finger. It's a really bad blister. 15-day injured list. Like, I don't know if they end up doing that, but there's no easy way out right now because you can't throw Walker to open up the can of worms of what if he throws well. You can't really skip too many starts because you don't want to stress the rest of the guys in the rotation who have been throwing well, who you're going to need deeper on into the season. You can't call up Painter yet. And even if you do, let's say they called up Panther, right? Well, then he gets Nola spot in the rotation. Then where does Aaron Nola go? Like, Aaron Nola fits one place on this team, and it's in the rotation. And for better or for worse, and so far this year it's been for worse, you're tied to him for a while. So there's only one way that this works. He's going to have to figure it out. That's it. That's the only way that this works out because he's trotting out there every 5th day. Unless he gets hurt, and he's never hurt, he's going to go out there and he's going to pitch. And right now it feels like every 5th day the Phillies are staring down the barrel of a loss. And it doesn't matter how many runs they score or how good a defense they play. I know they didn't play the world's best defense, but the issues were mostly after Nola was out of the game. Brandon Marsh, a bad misplay in center field. I can't kill anybody else on the team for last night's game, even with the most egregious mistakes. Once Aaron Nola did what he did, that kills the momentum and the belief of the team. If you're a starting pitcher and you have a 5-1 lead early and you give it up in an inning, and it's just like, oh, well, we're screwed. And I mean, all together in one inning. I know he got through the top of the second, fine. But That kills the vibe of a team, especially on a day where you've already played 9 innings, right? They think, okay, we busted this one open. Nola's going to shut them down. We're going to have a nice, easy victory. We take a series win. We win our 6th straight series. Just didn't happen. And it was because of the guy on the mound. And I'm telling you right now, Phillies fans, buckle up, because there's no easy way out of this besides Aaron Nola pulls his head out of his rear and decides that he wants to start pitching again. And I say that, like, decides he wants to start pitching again. I don't think it's like this, oh, he's mailing it in. Like, no. Aaron Nola is not a mailing in guy. He is durable. He is out there. He's giving it all that he has for this baseball team. The problem is all he has right now is not nearly enough. There's no good solution. So, I don't know. I guess you just kind of got to grit your teeth and bear it and see what happens when we get to a point where, I don't know, Painter comes up, or if this gets really, really bad, then drastic measures may have to be taken this season. But the only thing that you're going to be able to do, maybe skip a start. Even then, Nola's going to pitch for this team, and we got to come to terms with that. And it sucks right now, but I don't know. Maybe he'll bounce back. We're hoping and praying at this point. There's very little logically you can cling to that says Aaron Nola is going to figure this out. He looks washed, right? And I don't know if he is washed. I don't think he's cooked, like, completely. Like, he can't be cooked that fast. But I don't know. It's hard to make an argument that he's not, with the way that we've seen him pitch. Now, Aaron Nola was not the only person who played baseball yesterday. And the Phillies did have some good. And they won game 1 of the doubleheader, which we haven't really talked about yet. So we're going to talk about some of the good takeaways. The offense was pretty damn good in game 2. Finally got things going against Cardinals pitching. And Sonny Gray has had a solid year. He's a guy that they hadn't had much success against. So we're gonna talk about the positives. We're going to try and put Aaron Nola out of our mind coming up, because guess what? Nola's only every 5th day. If the Phillies keep going out and putting these type of performances together with other pitchers on the mound, they're going to win a lot of baseball games. So we will discuss that coming up as we continue today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Let's talk about Supply House first, because you need to get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. That's Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. They're the absolute best. If you're doing this type of work, you got to go ahead and check out Supply House, because they have so many great features that makes it so easy for you. Like their easy-to-use website. It's packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you're going to find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. And if you need help with an order, they've got just amazing customer service and expert support. You're always going to talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, check out their free Trade Master program, which offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, discounts on every order. What more could you want, right? Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. It's that easy. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. All right, I'm going to try and do this. Everyone take a deep breath. Meditate a little bit if you need to. We're going to put the Aaron Nola conversation behind us. We're going to talk about the good from yesterday's doubleheader, because there was some good, right? Kyle Schwarber went yard again. Of course he did. League leading, or tied for the league lead, 15th home run. Alec Boehm went yard. JT went yard. The offense looked really good in game 2, right? They got off to a hot start. They were putting together good at-bats. I know they cooled off in the later innings, but part of that is the momentum swing of having a starter not getting the job done. Bottom line is, if this Phillies team scores 7 runs with the pitching staff they have, they should win 95% of those games, maybe more than that. They were pretty darn good offensively, and I liked that little breakout, especially considering the conditions, right? Wasn't the easiest hitting night. Now, could have fooled me. 21 total runs in the game scored, so you could argue that it was a pretty easy hitting night. But to be able to power the ball out of the yard like that, some good swings from guys like Boehm and Realmuto, and obviously Schwarber, but he could hit the ball through the hurricane if he needs to. Castellanos a double off the wall early in that one. Trey Turner found his way on. I mean, you saw some good stuff from the Philadelphia Phillies offense in game 2. And in game 1, in spite of what you saw from Aaron Nola in the later game 1 was pretty darn big. Bryce Harper had a big hit to help the Phils win 2-1. You got a great start out of Jesus Luzardo, who went 7 innings, 6 Ks, so not really the best strikeout stuff for him, but only allowed 5 hit and 1 earned run. He was really good. Alvarado, Kirkring, Romano shut things down out of the pen. You found that win. You didn't get swept by the Cardinals. Now, I'm tired of playing the Cardinals. I'm glad that's the last time we play them this year. Like, I'm good with that. Buzz off. Stay in St. Louis. I really don't want to see them again because the Phillies don't really seem to have much success against this version of the Cardinals. I don't know. Now, if you took me back to 2022 and you said you can win this series against the Cardinals, but for the next 5 years, you're going to struggle with them in the regular season, I would take that. So maybe it's the curse of the comeback in 2022 in the wild card series out there in St. Louis. I don't know what it is, but game 1 was solid work by Jesus Luzardo and good clutch hitting late by the Phillies to score 2 in the 7th. The only runs scored in that game were in the 7th inning. Cardinals scored 1 in the 7th. Phillies answered with 2. That's how the game went down. I mean, yeah, it was good. Also, Orion Kirkring, maybe it was a jumpstart point for him. He didn't throw in game 2, but in game 1, he had a huge performance in relief of Jose Alvarado, where he came in a tough situation, got a couple of outs, got out of it without surrendering the lead, and maybe that's a jumping off point for Orion Kirkring. I don't know. We'll see how that ends up going. Jordan Romano looked better. Struck out 3 guys in the 9th inning, struck out the side for the save. Bullpen started to settle in a little bit. We have now shifted our meter, right? The previous meter, bullpen, number 1 problem, right? It's up there at the very top. Now, number 1 problem for the Philadelphia Phillies, it's Aaron Nola. It's that 5th spot in the rotation. Make no mistake, Aaron Nola is your 5th starter. But Luzardo, another great start. Was he able to get the win? Yes, he was. He is now 4-0 with the Philadelphia Phillies. He has had an insane start to the year. A start that rivals some of the best in Phillies history. Like the last time, and shout out to Jason Stark, who I got a chance to talk to on 97.5 The Fanatic yesterday. Did a nice interview with Hall of Fame baseball writer Jason Stark. So I talk to him every Wednesday on the radio and TV side over there. And he brought up like stats from Luzardo's start as a Philly. Dude, like the best since guys like Roy Halladay and Roy Oswalt joined the team, as far as a guy that the Phillies acquired, traded for. And then in their first 9 starts with the team was the number I believe he gave. That's pretty damn good company. And Wheeler's Wheeler and Sanchez is Sanchez. And I'm very intrigued to see Ranger this weekend against the Pittsburgh Pirates to see how he looks in a follow-up to what was a 7-inning performance by him. Like, ultimately, to put in perspective the Aaron Nola issues, right? I'm trying to think of the right way to frame this without seeming like I'm underselling the issue of Aaron Nola's struggles, because the Phillies are going to need Aaron Nola. You can't just say every 5 games, we're fine, we'll lose. That's okay. No, it's not. You cannot have that happen, especially with a guy on the contract that Aaron Nola's on. He's got to be better. But Wheeler, Luzardo, Sanchez, Suarez. If there's a time to have the guy struggling, it's when you have those other 4 guys going well. It's still very hard to beat this Phillies team consistently. And we're just going to have every 5 days or every 5 games, we're going to have a situation where you say, okay, here we go. Now, what it does do is it gives these great pitchers a little bit less margin for error. They feel like they're going to have to win pretty much every one of their starts if you feel like you have an automatic loss coming. But so far, they've been pretty much auto wins. They've been amazing, right? And I know you're not going to win every single one of their starts, but you see what they've been able to do. And Luzardo is the prime example yesterday of another great start. Like, he's going to be in the Cy Young conversation at some point. He already kind of is. And I don't think the name carries enough weight. He'd have to have a remarkable season from this point on still, even though he's been outstanding to start. But this dude is he's climbing those pitcher power rankings, and Zach Wheeler is as well. And I don't even know if those are like the 2 best pitchers on the roster. The Phillies, like, Zach Wheeler is their guy, so he's always going to be number 1. But I can make a case that Sanchez, when he's good, is as good, if not better, than Luzardo. I can make a case Ranger, when he's good, is as good as Sanchez or Luzardo. They've got 4 studs, and then one guy they're kind of dragging behind them. And all right, if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. So Nola is not going to sink the Phillies, right? He will not single-handedly ruin this season because he only pitches every 5 days. It's a problem you got to get fixed. But the upside is the rest of the team's still playing good baseball. So we can be annoyed at Aaron Nola, but what I don't want to start seeing is people saying, see, this is why the team stinks. This is why Dave Dombrowski's a bad president of baseball operations. This is why they can't win. They can win. Remember, postseason, how many guys start? 3, maybe 4, depending on how you set things up. Now, ideally, it's like a 4-man deal, but Painter's also going to come up. Like, you have the solutions for Aaron Nola a little bit. In the immediacy, you just don't have a place to really like put him while you employ those solutions. But the rest of the team's still playing well. You'll take that. It's not ideal. You wanted the win. You deserved the win last night. You needed a much better pitching performance, but there are still good things that you saw against the Cardinals where you could say, okay, the Phillies have not lost momentum. They just had a really bad start yesterday in Game 2. And they had a tough game in Game 1 where they just kind of looked a little sluggish. I don't know. First game home after a road trip, sometimes that happens. Coming up next, we're going to see where the Phillies, because the doubleheader probably threw a bunch of people into a tizzy yesterday with, well, what's going on? When did they play? I forgot when I was prepping for today's episode that they even had an off day today. So we're going to reset everybody's compass on where the Phillies are and where they're going. A standings check-in, since it is indeed an off day, as we wrap up today's episode of Locked On Phillies. All right, where are the Philadelphia Phillies in the standings, and where are some of the other teams we're keeping an eye on? Well, let's look at it, because last time we checked in, the Phillies had a top 8 record in baseball. Right now, they have a top 7 record in baseball. So even with the 2 losses to the Cardinals, they are 25-18. Now, that's tied for 1, 2, 3, 4. That's actually tied for the 5th best record in baseball. They're in pretty good shape. They're tied with the Guardians. You just saw them take 2 or 3 from in Cleveland before this home series with the Cardinals. And the Yankees. Yankees have been off to a solid start. Aaron Judge, I think, is hitting 900 or something up there in New York. He's unbelievable. That'll be a good series when those 2 teams face off, Phillies and Yanks. Now, the problem is Dodgers are still up there. Padres are still up there. Mets are 28-16. So we will get to what's going on with the Mets and where the Phillies are in division. But you got a couple other National League teams. The Tigers, with the best record in baseball, is remarkable. Now, I would bet any sum of money that they will not be there when the season is done. They will not have the best record when everything's all said and done, but great story out of the Detroit Tigers. The Phillies, not far off. They're 3.5 games out of the best record in baseball. Their away record looks solid compared to the top teams. 11 away wins. They're now over 500 in that category. 14-8 at home. I mean, that's pretty solid. You'd like to see them be a little bit better than that. They will be. But, yeah, the record still looks pretty good. Plus 16 run differential. Outside of Cleveland, it was minus 14 somehow at the same record as the Phillies. The other teams that are in the top 10 records in baseball, the Phillies have the lowest run differential. They just haven't really been blowing teams out. They haven't really had those comfortable victories. Everything earlier felt like a bit of a slog for the Phillies. And that Tampa Bay Rays series was the only time this year that I really felt like they dominated a team. And even that, they had to come back and win in extras in the final game of that series. So as much as the Phillies have started to hit their stride, they have another gear they can get into where they're just punking teams, and they will get there. Remember, we've talked about the schedule for the month of May. It doesn't look too difficult for the rest of the month, and that's why I thought that they were going to get on a roll like this. Like, they got the Pirates coming up next. The Pirates are 15-29. They're the 3rd worst team in baseball. So, yeah, you're going to have the opportunity to stack up some wins over the weekend. You may face Skeens on Sunday, though. That's something to keep a look on. When you look at the National League, the Phillies are 4th in the National League. So they're in the postseason right now if the season ended today, but they would not be the division champions of the NL East. That would be the New York Mets. The Dodgers would win the West if the season ended today. The Mets would win the East. The Cubs would win the Central. And then your wild card teams would be the Padres, the Phillies, and the Giants. 3 National League West teams would find their way in there. So, I mean, the Phillies, they're going to be in the postseason. They are. None of those teams back there behind them are making up crazy ground. Like Giants, solid team, tough division. Diamondbacks, solid team, tough division. Cardinals, fool's gold. I'm telling you, I look at that Cardinals team that the Phillies just played, and I think they're a solid baseball team. But I don't think they have enough to consistently play at this level. Similar to what I was saying with the Tigers. The Tigers are a better team than the Cardinals. I don't think that they're going to play at like the Phillies level all year as they play other competition. Braves are down there. They're 21-22. They're going to have a struggle to get anywhere close to competitive with the starts of the season they had. Brewers, Reds, Nationals, all kind of like those middle of the pack to lower middle of the pack teams. And then you got the basement dwellers, which are the Marlins, Pirates, and Colorado Rockies. The Rockies in a league of their own. Yeah, the Phillies are among the cream of the crop in the National League. They're going to be just fine. They're going to be where they need to be when everything's all said and done with the regular season. In division, just to get a little closer of a look, the Marlins and Nationals they're falling fast. Marlins are 11 games out. Nationals are 10 games out in the NL East. The Braves have made up some ground, but they're still 6.5 back on the Mets and 4 back on the Phillies at 21-22. And the Phils, I mean, for anyone who's like, it feels like when you see that, right? When you see Aaron Nola get shelled and you see your team give up 14 runs and you lose another series to the Cardinals, and you're like, man, this team, they just can't figure it out. They're 2.5 games back. They are within a series flip of being first place in the NL East. Now, I don't think the Mets are going to get swept and the Phillies are going to sweep, and it's just that easy, right? Like you can't really assume sweeps in baseball. But the point is, it's not like the Mets are running away with this thing. And the Mets schedule, just to give you an idea, they're going over to Yankee Stadium tomorrow to take on the Yankees for 3. Then they're going to Boston for 3. Then they're welcoming the Dodgers for 3. Like, they have a tough stretch here. Meanwhile, the Phillies, as you look at their schedule coming up, you've got the Pirates this weekend, the Rockies for 4 games, and then the Athletics. Like, over the course of that, you know what? I'm going to tell you this right now. The Phillies are going to be in first place in the NL East by next Thursday. By the time they finish up their series in Colorado against the Rockies, they're going to have jumped the Mets because the Mets are going to struggle with the Yankees, Red Sox, and Dodgers, and the Phillies are going to dominate the Pirates and the Rockies. Next Thursday, the Phils will be in first place in the NL East. They will, and I feel pretty comfortable about saying that. It's also going to be I got to catch myself here. I was going to say it's also going to be nice that Aaron Nola's next start is against the Rockies. It is not going to be nice that his next start is at Coors Field, where Mr. Homer is going to have some very thin air above him and around him that allows the baseball to fly. So God only knows what you do. But the Phillies themselves, right? The team is just fine. They're a good baseball team. That doesn't change. And hell, worst case scenario, when you get to the postseason, if Aaron Nola is not in your postseason rotation, he's not in your postseason rotation. Whatever. Luzardo, Sanchez, Suarez, Wheeler. We will see how Painter factors in. Walker out of the pen. Like, you can make that work. You don't need Aaron Nola. But for the contract, you kind of do need Aaron Nola. And I know I keep going back to the Aaron Nola conversation throughout today's episode. But that's the big story, right? He's the guy that's hurting this team. He's the guy that, and it's only every 5th day, but still, he's supposed to be one of your dudes. He's supposed to be one of the top pitchers in this rotation. And right now, the guy looks like a quad A guy. I know he's got the resume. He's got the accomplishments. He's been doing it forever. He's a great dude. I like Aaron Nola, right? Like, don't get me wrong. I root for Aaron Nola. I'm not an Aaron Nola hater, but it's very, very hard when he has starts like this to defend him in any way. But the team, not hard to defend. They're a good baseball team. They're going to take care of business against the Pirates over the weekend. We're going to preview that series in depth tomorrow as we dive into that and see, hey, Skeens on Sunday? That'd be a fun thing to talk about. So a lot still to get into with the Phillies before the week's over. We'll talk about that on tomorrow's episode. But that's all for today's episode of Locked On Phillies. thank you so much for joining us again. We come to you from the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that great stuff that really helps us out here on Locked On Phillies. I really do appreciate that very much. We're putting up big numbers this year. Year over year, our growth has been incredible. That's all because of you guys. So I appreciate it very much for you listening and viewing. Yeah, we're putting up numbers, even if Aaron Nola is not. Well, he's putting up numbers, just not the good kind. All right, I'll let him go for the day. We'll talk again tomorrow on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.